I bet.
Oh, sorry.
No.
So, like, stop taking my picture. So, like, about the problematic language usage of the oppressive sex-selective abortion, but I wouldn't really mind if it branched out to the more general discussion of abortion or like bodily autonomy. Anyways, to establish the context, sex-selective abortion. Well, sex-selective abortion is usually when like abortion is performed due to the fetus's sex, and if the woman or her family, whatever, does not want the fetus of that particular sex, usually, but not always, girls, and they abort it. And it's usually prevalent in Asian countries, but not always. And sex-selective abortion is usually due to poverty, because poor families in third world countries cannot afford like dowry or like to bring another child that would just be married off to another family, or like cultural preferences in like certain countries where like sons carry on their names, in like patriarchal societies. But I think most of what I'm going to be talking about here is going to be about sex-selective abortion in America and how the language is used by the opponents of sex-selective abortion actually. Or used by the opponents of sex-selective abortion creates like this emotional like I wouldn't really say like dichotomy, but more like what's the word for it? Effect, yeah. So like a month before I came to task, Representative Trent Franks of Arizona introduced this bill called PRENDA, or Prenatal Non-Discrimination Act, which originally required doctors and nurses to report any suspected race-selective or sex-selective abortions. Well, because I'm going to talk about race-selective abortions later, but it basically is saying that if a doctor or a nurse does not report any suspected race or sex-selective abortion, the doctor or nurse can be sued or be fined or go to jail for 5 years. Is going to be treated as a felony. Or even though the woman getting the race or sex-selective abortion would not be persecuted. Well, it was defeated in the House, but and it was defeated in the House, and the racial discrimination language was dropped because black women getting abortions, like, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant with a black baby. No way, like that's not going to happen to me. Like, really? Like, that's just absurd, guys. Anyways, but even though there might be some slight prenatal selection among some ethnic groups, mainly Chinese, Indian, and Korean Americans, because like naturally there should be 106 boys for every 100 girls. Well, that's the case when it comes down to like the second child of a Chinese, Indian, or Korean American family, the sex ratio becomes skewed to 115 boys for every 100 girls. So there might be some prenatal selection going on between certain groups of Americans here, but it's not really anything major because obviously, as a bonus of sex-selective abortion, say that women abort due to social pressure, not because they. And Guttmacher Institute does report that only 4.6 of all abortions are performed at or after 16 weeks, which is generally when the sex of the fetus is determined. But that does not mean that 4.6 of all abortions are sexual abortions, maybe for medical reasons, whatever. So that was my context. So let's get into a really, really fun stuff. Language is used by the do not know how to distinguish between gender and sex. Like, sex is like what you are biologically born with. The gender is like how you feel on the inside, like your identity. But these people really do not distinguish between that. And it also detracts from the real problem of like real gender side happening in like northern Mexico, where like women are specifically targeted for being women and being girls. But, you know, sex a lot of abortion, unconscious fetuses, obviously, they're more important than real women and real Mexico, of course. And right, for another example, Roxana has seen Huffington Post condemns women as equally responsible for the crime against their own gender. But I mean, like, sex selective abortion is due to like misogynistic culture, but can women really be blamed for misogynistic culture? I mean, I'm not saying there's like one specific like gender that should be blamed for all misogyny, but I mean, everyone, like pretty much everyone, like acts within their own culture. So, can women really be blamed for acting in the context of their own culture, which may or may not be misogynistic? Another example. This one really is real. This is from this guy named Stephen Mosher. He is the president of the pro-life group called the Population Research Institute. That I've read some of the articles on this on their website. It's kind of crazy. They're kind of condemning like Muslim immigration into Europe, which is a whole different issue. Says that he knows from personal experience that little girls are being targeted in Asian American communities. He knows this from personal experience, guys. Personal experience.
Okay.
Because he's worked in China during the 70s. I mean, there's no difference between Asian American communities and China during the 70s, right? Or the lives. Probably the difference. The Arizona representative that introduced this whole Prenda bill, named Trent Franks, when he got it past the judiciary committee, he was quoted as saying that I am convinced this is a civil rights battle that will define our generation. But by the grace of God, I will look forward to this vital measure's consideration of the House floor and its ultimate passage. Guys, this is like a really huge civil rights battle. Like really, who cares that if 18.5% of Asian American women really do not receive adequate, reproductive health care? Saving female babies is a real civil rights battle. But it really trivializes the real civil rights. The real civil rights issues that people of color, especially women of color, and other women are facing in this society, because we have a lot of problems to fix, but these people are choosing to focus on politicized issues that will not affect these women's lives. And I've read the bill entire proposition, and it calls sex selective abortion sex discrimination against the unborn. Well, now they are using feminist language to attack feminist causes. This is gonna work out. Because, sex discrimination against the unborn, really, it is discrimination in the sense that female fetuses are targeted, but I mean, is sex discrimination against the unborn even more important than sex discrimination against the already born women? Yeah, and one thing that I really like to mention is that all of these posts all of these people that I've mentioned always mention China and India, because there's a difference between Chinese and Indian Americans and Chinese and Indian people in China and India. It's I don't know, it just provokes this image of explicitly says that the representative, the Democratic representatives that do not support China are in sync with China's abortion policy. Well, even though, yes, selective abortions are performed in China, does that really, I think what he's referring to is that like the forced abortion policies that are in place in China as a part of the one-child policy, but forced abortion is not a free choice, and even though there are sex selective abortions in China, you can't really argue that like forced abortions are somehow like happening in America, which they are not. Anyways, so I think I have anticipated this criticism that does me focusing on like their language instead of like their actual position like set up a straw man? Well, in that case, I will not admit that I might be setting up a straw man, but I saw him is examining their position for their language, and because language like brings up a really like emotional response from like the audience, and and like I'm not really pulling out quotes from like random like protesters on the street. I'm talking about the people from eminent people in institutions, and examining the language I think will like will help us like really understand what they are doing, like where they're coming from, and like the emotional responses that they want to promote, because people do not always think rationally, so they think emotionally, even like especially in really hyper polarized issues such as abortion, especially selective abortion, because that is a very culturally and politically like complicated issue. So I don't want this to be like a cool story bro thing, so I will illustrate about like why is language even important in this context. So as I've already said, a lot of these people are using feminist rhetoric and turning it against like feminist groups and civil rights groups, and saying that you guys are the ones that are really perpetuating the real work against women. And it really like marginalizes and it really just like trivializes the real issues that these feminists and real civil rights groups have been really working on, such as like reproductive health care, and using that rhetoric to attack those people and to set up their positions against abortion is, I don't know, I feel like it's just you should just do that. I mean, and language itself does not really have any power, but the emotional response that it evokes does. So if you are going to be using like feminist rhetoric to like marginalize and oppress like women, especially women of color, then that's kind of hypocritical on your part. And as for going back to the whole Prenda issue, the language in Prenda is extremely unclear. So like it does not really so basically it does not specify which women will be like coming, like how to report women, or how to even ask for like the women about their motivations behind their abortions. So I mean it basically targets all Asian American women and represented by state of business. And even though my friend does say that women are not going to be subject to any repercussions, doctors will be refusing service, and pro-life groups have been using this to set up stays around Planned Parenthood clinics or nationwide, because they want to defund Planned Parenthood and want to pursue their political platforms, but they want to see the chicken system. And Stephen Washer, the guy that talked about how he knows everything, he knows that Asian American communities are targeting female fetuses because he's working China in the 70s. He basically was quoted as saying that a sex selective abortion should be utilized as an incremental approach to banning abortion. So if you're gonna be evoking emotional responses from people, using these languages to go ahead and defund Planned Parenthood ban abortion and vote for Roe versus Wade. That's pretty, like, I don't know, that's just that just seems like a really loaded agenda to me. So, another question that, so that was pretty short. So another question that I really want to bring up is that, can you, like, really jail people by their, like, you can't, you're not going to be jailing the women, but can you, like, really criminalize people by their intentions? Well, you know, there is already, like, the controversy of hate crime, but, you know, hate crime is a different issue because murder is already a crime without the hate and without, like, the racial or, like, whatever hatred involved. But abortion is not a crime and can only be reasonably restricted in cases as set on the Roe versus Wade and when the state's looking out for a woman's health. The second is third trimester. In the second and third trimesters and not in first trimesters. So, is it really fair to, like, is it really fair to, like, find another person, like, in this case the doctor, for the intention of another person, in the case of the patient, the woman's intentions to abort, to obtain a medical service, a